name's Will and welcome to the Distorted Transmission for this week. I am talking to a band called The First Child. How are you guys?
Good.
Pretty good.
Obviously, it's not a two-piece band, so who would like to introduce themselves and all the other members in the band?
I'm Georgie, and I play guitar. And I do a little bit of singing here and there.
My name's Lily. I'm the lead vocalist, and the other three members who are not in this interview are Sam on rhythm guitar, Liam on drums, and Jacob on bass.
Let's talk about the history of the band. You were called Ray, I recall, back when there was those regular West Auckland UFO shows back in maybe 2015-ish.
From 2015 to 2019? Was it 2019, Georgie?
I think it was 2019, man. Yeah. 2019 was when we went to court and faced the lawyers.
I think it was 2018 or 2019. We were called Ray. And then around the time we were doing an EP release for the 2020 EP Violent Delight, we were approached by an artist from Wellington named Ray. Well, we were approached by his management, and they basically said, hey, you guys should change your name or else we might take legal action. And they had a whole list of like threats and whatever, and we were just like, yeah, cool, we'll do it. Because I mean, honestly, if you searched Ray into Spotify, Google, whatever, you couldn't even find the band.
Right.
In hindsight, The First Child is almost a better and catchier name to have for the band, I would say.
There was a bit of a stylistic change with the music. The music started to become less harsh and more accessible with the use of less screamed vocals and the guitar lines being a bit more melodic and fun.
The heavy aspect of the music is super important, and being heavy and having distorted guitars and something to headbang to is super important. But at the same time, I want something where when I listen to it, there's like a harmonic and melodic context where it like feels good to listen to, and it's got everything in it. That's kind of our goal, I think.
Yeah, I think the musical goals have changed since becoming The First Child. And in my opinion, I wouldn't even call it the same band in a sense because of what Ray stood for and what The First Child stands for in terms of goals musically is completely different.
It wasn't like you guys changed overnight, though. It was kind of like stylistically. I think you gradually changed, because I did listen to some of your older tracks, and there were definitely strong hints of what you are now in there. It wasn't like you're a punk band and now you're a, I don't know, pop band or whatever.
Yeah.
All the elements are kind of there. Perhaps a little more of this, a little less of that. But
I think a lot of it might even be just like we think about it a lot, but when the writing process happens, maybe it's not as prevalent in the actual music as it might be like in our heads and the way that we view it, which is cool. It's like a real cool concept that you bring it up, because now I'm thinking about it. But yeah, that's cool.
I didn't mean for you to think about your music. I apologize.
God forbid.
Cool. Okay, so I guess primarily the reason why we're having a little chat today is because on April the 1st, which unfortunately would have already been in the past when this comes out, but April 1st, 2022, 7-track EP, Sincerely Yours. So let's talk about that.
Georgie, being the absolute G that he is, he recorded all the guitars by himself, both rhythm and lead, and 80% of the bass by himself. Out of necessity. Georgie is probably one of the greatest guitar players I know.
In the world.
In the world. It just made sense to get him to record all the bits. So we got all that done through DI, and then we worked with Luke Finley of Primal Mastering to record vocals, and he mixed and mastered it.
Okay. And the drums were,
in a sense, we're a bit of a computer band. There's a lot of stuff that if you look at how it's played, you'll probably look at it and think, wow, what the hell? This isn't made for a human. There's definitely a lot of that in the drums and the lead guitar.
It feels like when people say, was that with the drums, programmed, everyone kind of like flinches and sort of grits their teeth a bit and goes, well, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you can kind of ballpark play it live, I think everyone turns a blind eye for sure.
Yeah, man.
Yep, I agree.
I'm too old to have been part of the emo hardcore karate kicking mosh pit fan club. So I'm a little bit out of my depth dealing with a band that identifies as post-hardcore. So what's it all about? And could you explain it to me like you're telling your granddad for added lols?
Okay, so it's funny because even Georgie has like trouble understanding this.
I straight up was like, we play metal, right?
But then if you showed any metalhead in New Zealand our music, you'd definitely get a bunch of like those kinds of looks. It's an offshoot of hardcore they add. It's a bit more melodic and is more singing involved, and there's use of catchy hooks with choruses. So it's a bit, I would say it's the accessible brother to hardcore punk.
I don't think any of us think about like what genre we are. I think it just ends up being that definition, you know, when you go into the whole subgenre argument with other people. But I always, whenever we approach writing, I always just go, oh, okay, we've got this chord progression. What's going to sound really cool over the top of it? Like, what kind of emotion do I, you know, I'll pick up my guitar and play some notes and be like, this sounds really fun. This sounds like, you know, this emotion, or this sounds really happy or joyful or whatever. And then we'll just run with that. And then at the end, when we have the whole track, we'll be like, you know what? This sounds like post-hardcore, man. You know, in a good way.
Next thing I was going to talk about is your interesting little sort of homemade videos.
Amateur videos.
Yeah, they're cool. One of the more recent ones, you're playing tennis, and you're all in your sort of nice little white tennis uniforms, and you're singing into a tennis ball, which was the weird part of it. There was another one where you were like, it was just like a day out skateboarding, and even the injuries were like impromptu. And there's another random one. There was some guy with a hazmat suit on in front of a gray wall. Just
Lily, what's the hazmat video?
I think he's thinking about It's an Angel, I did a lyric video.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah. The tennis one, that's one of the singles off the new EP. That song is called Don't Care, Didn't Ask, Plus You're Dead to Me. For most of our music videos, anyway, to be realistic in New Zealand, unless you know how to market it properly, you're going to spend all that money and then have like 300 people watch it, you know?
Yeah.
We might as well just create something that's visually striking. We didn't have to spend too much money on it. And people will watch and be like, oh, yeah, that was pretty funny.
What's the plan for the year to come? I know like a lot of bands don't really have much going on live.
At the moment, currently, we're recording an album of 10 songs, and we're looking to self-produce it and do everything ourselves. Over the years, we've all been in bands, and we feel like we can finally pull our knowledge and what we've learned to create an album that we can take full control of. And the music we're writing, I think Georgie will agree to, is the best material we have. It's more melodic, more catchy, and somehow at the same time, the most technically difficult music we've ever written. So I'm really excited about that. There's been a couple times where we've booked shows, like we've booked a show in Wellington, for example, and then a lockdown happens, and it's just like, cool, that's money down the drain that we booked on like flights and accommodation.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll just see what happens in terms of live shows. We'd love to definitely tour the EP, but obviously it's we'll see what happens situation.
Gigs aren't as good at the moment, so we've got all this extra time to bunker down, record these parts, make sure everything's sounding good, and get everything down the pipeline.
And saying that, we also did play a gig with it was in the middle of the week, and it was at Ding, and everyone had to be seated. It was the most awkward gig we have ever played.
For me, it's super cool to just have the opportunity to like head out to Ding and play, and like, you know, we got to play with Chasing South, and those guys are awesome. And, you know, we all just hung out, had some yarns and played. But I'm super excited for just like when things kind of roll back to normal and we can start kind of, you know, just playing those really packed shows again. Because like before the first lockdown, we had like a really good lineup of gigs that were happening, some all ages ones. And we had some real good traction. We're getting more and more kind of folks coming into the gigs. And then when we have this lockdown, it's like, oh man, all this momentum that, you know, you feel like you've got this momentum and then you get a lockdown. So it's a shame, definitely.
All right, well, we're just about out of time. So is there anything else you'd like to add
Thank you to Luke Finley for mixing and mastering our EP. Thank you to everyone who's helped with our music videos. There are too many to name, so yeah.
Thank you to everybody that supports us with the music videos. Thank you, Luke, for putting in the hard yards and making our album sound so great. And yeah, check out the EP. If you like the tunes, give us a holler. Let us know what you like. And if you absolutely hate them, you can also tell us. We're all ears. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, best of luck going forwards, and hopefully the COVID thing ends soon. You can get out and do some more gigs, and yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Will.
And thanks for watching.